Hello, this is Jeff.
Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So Jeff Greenberg, of course, of Under the Headset inside the ACC, nice enough to jump on with us to talk a little Tar Heel football. So, I read you guys did the betting lines, of course, for Week 1, and I wanted to start really quickly by asking you about your choice to pick the Tar Heels in Week 1. I mean, nobody else is even having us cover the line. You're taking us outright. So, when it comes to being a part of inside the ACC, are you kind of one of those outsiders on this team right now?
I think right now, according to what everybody has picked, and more particularly what their comments were, I would say yes. But I think that is a factor of what you will see across a lot of prognosticators currently that somewhat follow the ACC, but whether you read magazines, websites, what have you, nobody outside of the program really knows what to think of UNC, and I think that is affecting people's opinions more than anything. It's one thing to have a thoroughly researched and vetted out opinion versus having an opinion based on lack of knowledge because they don't know what to think of the team. Those are two distinct different things. I kind of fall more in the latter of knowing a bunch about what's going on, who the players are,
Mhm.
what's coming back, and that's what tilted my upset pick.
Well, we know, of course, what inside the ACC it's going to cover ACC football and everything like that. But under the headset, kind of tell us a little bit about what that is about and why you personally like to do it.
Yeah, under the headset is more of it's primarily for college football, but it focuses more on the coaching side of that dynamic. And my goal with under the headset is conversations, discussions, and articles with coaches to give people, both fans and coaches alike, a different perspective than you get from the normal press conference. So what that means is, asking them about current events, asking about what's going on with their teams, but also dialing into what their coaching career has been like, the steps they've taken, what kind of coach they are compared to maybe when they started, and what advice they would have for other coaches. It's just to give another perspective, dig a little deeper. I don't think you get to know coaches most of the time just through those press conferences because they tend to be guarded. They tend to not necessarily trust everybody that's sitting in front of them. And so under the headset's really, the venue or forum for them to go where they can speak freely and get their story out without feeling guarded.
Yeah. I mean, definitely that's awesome getting that different perspective that a lot of people just aren't able to give. So let's jump into it and focus on this Tar Heel football team that we're going to see out there on Saturday. The first question I think has to be with this offense, and that's because last year, 26 points a game, averaged just 369.6 yards of offense per game, easily the worst offense that they have had under Larry Fedora. What does this offense have to do to return to that type of offense that can win games and mostly just, I mean, put points up on the scoreboard?
Well, first and foremost, this won't be a surprise to anybody that's followed UNC is number one, stay healthy. I think, last year was devastating from an injury standpoint. It's been well documented. But when you really look at what they did last year, you had brand new quarterbacks coming in who had practiced with a certain set of receivers all through the spring, all through the summer. And when they took the field basically after week one, the people they were used to throwing to were no longer out there. So
Right.
that affects one thing greatly. That compounds the difficulty of bringing in a new quarterback. Two, the running game was, I would say non-existent, but for a few reasons. Early in the season, non-existent. Let me correct myself. You had two brand new running backs, one of which was a true freshman, one of which his playing time basically consisted of the bowl game the year before. You
Right.
add to that the devastating injuries across the offensive line,
Hmm.
and that was the key to the struggle of this offense last year was injuries along the offensive line, throwing in the fact that the starting center that you did want to have was a grad transfer, brand new, guy next to him, grad transfer, brand new.
Right.
The continuity was tough. So when you actually looked at the people that were coming back, like a William Sweet, and he goes down in week 3, it was just very disruptive from an offensive line standpoint. And the key stat, if you really want to go back and look at their difficulty, was yards on first down. It felt like every time this offense was on the field, they were looking at 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 8. And it's tough to operate like that when you don't have a secure running game and you don't have a tenured quarterback. It was basically a perfect storm of difficulties. They shored some of that up as the season went along, but they were doing it with Band-Aids. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference between last year and this year is you have experience at the quarterback position now. You have experience on the offensive line. 4 out of those 5 guys right now have been together since the end of last season. They went all through spring together, all through the summer together. The last and the fall camp, the only position you're really trying to hash out at this point is right guard, but at least both of those options have been with the team significantly in terms of spring to fall camp. So you have more optimism, I guess you could say, on the offensive line to start. You have quarterback experience now coming back. And then when you look at the running back and the receivers, you're looking at a completely different picture than last year. Right. Running backs, you've got everybody coming back. You've got Carter, and I say everybody, you're really talking Jordan Brown, Michael Carter, and then you've got Sutton also ready to go, and Antoine Branch coming back from injury. But you add in pieces that nobody, and this is the part that I think some folks are missing when they're evaluating how UNC is going to be this year, is there is a lot of buzz. I know I've heard you talk about it around Antonio Williams, the transfer in from Ohio State. And not just because he came in from Ohio State, so the potential is there, but it's what he's done on campus since he's been at Chapel Hill that has a lot of people buzzing. I know people were talking about, Michael Carter's injury and not having him for the Cal game, but I'm not quite sure that Antonio Williams wouldn't have been the starter anyway. So that's something that UNC fans should be optimistic about and should be excited to see how it turns out tomorrow. So you have probably one of the deepest running back rooms right now that Larry Fedora's had since he's been at UNC.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to tell people, when Antonio Williams transferred in, he was going to have an impact, and that this group was one of the better ones, really one of the more under-the-radar type running back groups in the entire country. And I think you're right. Antonio Williams, we've heard so many things about how he's come in and not only has, he acclimated to Carolina well, he's become a leader in that room. And this is a guy that, clearly you must have a great personality. You must have a great work ethic if you can just walk in and pretty much take over as a leader in the room. And I think it's fantastic. I think it's definitely something Tar Heel fans should be encouraged about. And, the running back group, I agree with you, is important. Last year, an average third down of 3rd and 7, that has got to change this year. That is, especially when you go back and look last year, and you mentioned it, all the injuries at wide receiver. Just go and look at the group that was on the field to start the year against Cal, and then you go and watch the game against Pittsburgh, and you tell me the differences between those receiving cores. Josh Cabrera was one of our starters. That's, something that, I think we can all agree probably shouldn't have happened. We don't want it to reach that point again. The defense, I felt last year, really before the last few games of the season, started to take a step in the right direction. And I still think overall they did take a step in the right direction, especially in the run defense and a little bit in the pass rush. What do they have to do to become, take that next step and become a group that at least they can, rely on to possibly win them a game or keep them around in games?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. You talk about experience and the amount of starters they have coming back, but then when you look beyond quote-unquote starters coming back, if you look at the other guys playing, they've all started at least 1 or 2 games before. So what this really means is that experience has to step up. The potential you keep hearing about the defensive line has to be reached. Those guys have to reach their potential and step up to the billing that a lot of folks are giving them right now. On the back end of the defense, those guys have played a lot of snaps. It's now time to not have the mental mistakes. It's now time to make the tackle when the tackle's there to be made. And I think you see guys like Britt and you see guys like Dorn who are going to do that from a safety position. Now it's time to see that same consistency from a Patrice Renee or a Cotman or a KJ Sales and have a complete skill set going. But then, every defense, you talk about linebackers. If we can keep Cole Holcomb healthy, that'll be huge. He played pretty much 2/3 of last season with one arm. And still finished in the top 10 in tackles, just like he did the year before.
Right.
He stays healthy. He's going to do that this year. But you need the young guys around him now to step up. And I would say, Jonathan Smith isn't a young guy, but from an experience standpoint, he is. Now is the time to show that everything that has been said in the offseason of what he's done to put himself in a position to lead that defense, that has to happen when the lights come on tomorrow in Cal. And the young guys, I think you are going to see some young guys that are going to step up from the linebacking position and be able to make some plays and show a little athleticism that was lacking last year. Because if you really look at the end of the year, particularly that last game against NC State, I mean, UNC was missing their top 4 or 5 linebackers, period. You had walk-ons playing, you had converted safeties playing linebackers. So this year they have a chance. Starts up front, and then the back end's got to do their job, but the linebackers has a chance to be the wild card in here.
Yeah, I would have loved to be in that room when the journalist group that was there found out that Hunter Crayford was starting that game. That must have been a very fun moment to go back and try to find some statistics on him really quickly. So last year, of course, Anthony Ratliff Williams was definitely the breakout player, kind of a guy that people were hearing about a little bit, but maybe wasn't on the radar to break out. When you look at the group this year, is there maybe that one guy that right now a lot of people aren't talking about, but you think by the end of the year could be that household name?
Yes, and I know you and I mean, we just talked a little earlier about Antonio Williams, to take him off the list right now because we already mentioned him. I'm going to think of 2 guys right now, and one may seem a little boring because no one really thinks about an offensive lineman as a breakout player.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of what we're looking at for quarterback, the experience is there, but the health has to be there. Look at William Sweet to have a year that puts him on the NFL map. He's the left tackle. He was he was primed for a big year last year before he had a knee injury. But you're looking at an NFL caliber tackle on the blind side that the quarterbacks are going to need to be there to complement what we already have on the right side, what UNC has in Charlie Heck. So William Sweet is one, but if you want a flashier name that people are going to hear from, it's going to be De'Ami Brown. Freshman wide receiver that has come in from day one, and he does not look like a freshman. And when you're looking and hoping that you have that guy that can take the top off the defense, you already know what Ratliff Williams can do. Imagine if the guy on the opposite side has that same dangerous capability, and it becomes a really hard proposition for the defense to guard at that point. So with all the attention that you're going to see on Ratliff, all the attention I think you're going to end up seeing on the run game, and don't forget Carl Tucker's coming back healthy as a dangerous tight end. It's going to be interesting to see how long teams can leave De'Ami Brown one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, I mean, De'Ami Brown has come in and been sensational so far, and, I'm kind of hoping he turns into maybe not on the same level of that take the top off type guy, maybe has a little bit of a more dynamic role as a route runner and maybe can factor in on some of the shorter plays as well. But, I want him to become that Mac Hollins type guy, because really since Mac Hollins' injury back in the 2016 season, we haven't been able to throw the ball all that deep, with success. So, I know they've said that Elliott has been working on that, working on his deep passes, and apparently has looked good so far in fall camp. And then, of course, with De'Ami Brown being there, I think that's going to help him and possibly Antone Green if they need him as well. So that's 2 great picks. And William Sweet is a fantastic one. I totally agree with you. I mean, you look at it and those 2 guys anchoring the offensive line at the tackle positions. I mean, you're talking about guys that if it works out right, these guys could probably both be top 3 round picks in the NFL draft down the line. So, so now let's turn towards the sort of official prediction. When you look at it, I don't know if you're a guy that really does, record predictions, or maybe you just have a win number in mind, but, kind of where do you see this team finishing this year?
Yeah, and that's one of those things that's, again, I think is being underplayed by folks that don't know what to see with this team, because last year was not really a good snapshot for people to judge this year by. And I think even when you were asking about breakout players, there's probably going to be a lot of people or a lot of players that people think are breakout players because no one knows anybody on this team right now from the outside.
Right.
So I think that's what has affected other people's predictions when it comes to records. And I mean, you see people saying UNC looking at another 3-9 season, another 4-8 season, something of those lines. I just don't see it right now, barring some kind of disaster from a health standpoint. When I look at the games that they can win, they can go to Cal tomorrow and they can win that game.
Right.
They can win next week against ECU. Mm-hmm. They can win at home against UCF if they protect the football and play the defense that they should be able to play with the returners back. But it's an up and down schedule. There's obviously tough games, but when I'm looking at win totals, my brain says 7-5 is totally doable.
Yeah.
Totally doable.
Mm-hmm.
My heart says, you get something rolling. 8-4 is not out of the question. Now, does that also mean if somebody stubs their toe, if an injury or two that we can't afford, UNC can't afford, 6-6 also enters the table. But the talent that's on the team, the experience they have, and more importantly, the position these guys find themselves in right now. If you go in that locker room, if you go to the practices, they know that they are being overlooked by everybody. Mm-hmm. They know that no one's giving them a chance, and they know that right now everybody's focused on other teams, and they like that. They like where they stand right now, and they like the effort they put into. A few coaches have given me the quote, basically echoing each other, that they are having a ton of fun coaching the guys in that locker room right now, and that tells me something.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of has that feel, and I don't want to get people too pumped up, but sort of that 2014, we come off the 6-7 season, and then into 2015, that offseason, nobody was talking about the team. They were kind of just like, this team is really not going to be all that good. They're probably going to be another average team. Is Marquise Williams really that type of guy? So, yeah, I mean, it does feel a little bit eerily similar, but I'm not sure that 11 wins. Please, Tar Heel fans, do not take that as we should be winning 11 games. I guess
I think your point is valid though in terms of what the feel is like inside the program, right, from 14 to 15 coming off last year to this year. Again, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. 11-1 is not what we're talking about here, but what we are talking about is the attitude that can put wins on the board. I think this year's schedule is a little harder than the 15 schedule, so that affects things. Mm-hmm. But you are not far off in terms of what the attitude and the aura is, I guess you could say, inside that locker room right now.
So Larry Fedora right now is pretty much he's one of those hot seat candidates, I guess. It kind of depends on who you talk to. But this is my question. I've been asking all of the journalists this. When the 2019 season starts, when we're sitting here a year from today, is Larry Fedora the guy that's going to still be the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels?
Yes, and I've kind of heard a lot of the different takes and different mm-hmm. comments on people when you've asked them that question. And there's some fair takes, and then there's just some takes that everybody's looking for headlines, and everybody loves to talk about hot seats and whatnot. But barring again a complete disaster, which would be hard to replicate last year's disaster from a health standpoint, Larry Fedora will be coaching this team in Game 1, 2019. The other part is when you think about some of the, I guess I would say, manufactured drama around part of the offseason.
Right.
If you really dug deeper into some of those things and really found who came out in support of Coach Fedora when it came to his comments about this or that, people needed to take a step back and at least judge his actions more than his words and see where he actually falls in a lot of those debates. But I think no matter what, he's still going to be judged primarily about what happens on the field. Mm-hmm. I think I heard you mention with someone, and it was correctly stated, Bubba Cunningham has a ton of confidence in Larry Fedora. Right. I just did an interview with Gene Chizik where he just made the simple statement that going 3-9 in 1 year doesn't mean that Larry Fedora got stupid overnight. He won a ton of games coming into last year, 13-4 in the ACC. He's got a good core group of people on this team right now that can put some wins up. And let's not forget the 2017 disaster that was 3-9 still was able to turn in a top 25 recruiting class, which was actually his best class since he's been here. So let's not necessarily start writing obituaries and act like the wheels have fallen off until we see what these guys do under the lights this season.
Jeff Greenberg of Under the Headset inside the ACC.com. Fantastic stuff, man. And yeah, guys, if you get a chance, go check it out. It's awesome stuff, and he knows his stuff about the Tar Heels. I mean, you just heard it right there. Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for joining us. This is fantastic. I hate that you were not able to be a part of the actual preview podcast, but we'll definitely get you up there, and I think people are really going to love it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. I think your preview podcast was excellent for those fans out there that are clamoring for that last-minute stuff that they want to read or listen to prior to tomorrow's game.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, so looking forward to it. I know you are. And, yeah, we'll definitely have to have you on some other time down the line and get you on here to talk a little bit more about Tar Heel football. I know you have conversations with Coach Fedora, too, so could bring a different insight that maybe some of the other guys aren't able to bring for us.
Would love to do it, man, anytime.
All right, man. You take care.
Thank you.